Sonny Faris of Blackwater Holylight, which capital B, capital H.
Yes.
Hi.
Got it. Hi. Hello. Thank
Hello.
you for having me.
No, thank you for being here. I don't know.
We're here.
I never. Yeah, we're here. We're here. Thank
We're
you
in
for.
space.
Thank you for being. Yeah.
We're in space time.
Thank you for being on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
What are you drinking?
I'm drinking a huge ass smoothie.
Oh, what's in your smoothie?
Yes, it's my morning power smoothie. It's oat milk, cold brew, a scoop of peanut butter, a scoop of protein powder, collagen, and a frozen banana.
Damn.
Yeah.
That is some morning power.
Yeah.
What
routine.
What kind of protein powder do you use?
It's like this bone broth protein powder, which is kind of gross if you think about it, but it's just like really, really high in protein. So got to get it in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I yeah, no, I hear you. A frozen banana and peanut butter. You're speaking my language,
right? That's all you need.
I like that.
That's all you need.
I like that. I've never had oat milk. Does it actually taste like oat?
I not really. I mean, I never really drink it on its own. I only get it to like put in other stuff. Right. So I don't know.
So by the time it's done,
yeah, I do half and half.
Right.
Plug it.
By the time it's done, it's banana and peanut butter.
Masked. It's just the base. Yeah.
Fair. All right.
Definitely.
You and the rest of Blackwater Holylight, capital B, capital H, just played Psycho Las Vegas.
Yeah. Was that last week? Week before?
I think it was the week before. It was the 19th. You did the pool party, correct?
Concept of time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we did. It was great. It was pretty crazy. It felt really wild for us because it was our first show back since lockdown and everything happened. And so yeah, it was just kind of a trip. It felt like so familiar and also so foreign at the same time, because it's just been like almost like over a year and a half since we had played, and it was like the daytime, it was the middle of the day, and it was so hot and windy, and like it was amazing, but it definitely was like it felt pretty overwhelming at the same time for me. I think the band as a whole, we all had like a really good time, but we all definitely had moments of being like, oh my god, this is crazy. Like we're doing this again. Yes. Wow. Okay, here we go.
That is the as I understand it, the essential Psycho Las Vegas experience is like you're having a really good time, and you're also kind of like, holy shit, this is crazy. I mean, it lives up to the name in that regard.
Yeah.
And I haven't been out there since they moved to the MGM, but when they were at the Hard Rock, I went one year and it was like 110 degrees outside in the sunshine at that pool.
It was luckily like not, I think we were only at like 100 degrees, so we weren't quite as toasty as it has been historically, but it was kind of windy and just so dry, so like we were definitely feeling that for sure.
Was that Erica's first show on guitar?
Yes. Yep. Well, so we played like a little kind of like goofy show in Portland for just like a little community of my friends, that like wasn't on a stage, and it was just kind of like a pretty DIY like throw and go type show like a few months ago. So we did play in front of people with her, but that was like our first like legit like on a stage with sound happening show. Right. That was not for like just our friends. So that was the first one, and she fucking killed it like I knew she would. She's been practicing those songs like every single day, and we've gotten some good because she doesn't live in Portland, but she's been up a few times, and so we definitely have had like a few weeks of like really solid rehearsing with her. So by the time Psycho got there, she was feeling like, like confident she knows how to play the songs, and we were all like, okay, like we've really kind of put in as much time as possible here. So, but she nailed it. I knew she would.
Great. And
Yeah.
how much stuff from Silence Motion did you play?
We played the majority of the album. There were a few songs on there that we didn't play, but I think we played five songs off of Silence Motion, and then we played three old ones. I want to say maybe yeah, I think it was five off
Some,
Silence Motion.
wow.
So the majority of the album, because Silence Motion is only 7 songs.
Yeah.
Because there's a few on there that are like pretty long. So to get within the 40-minute vinyl limit, we could only stick with those 7, but still a full-length album. So
How much more was there?
Of what?
Like, did you leave songs off? You said you could only stick 7 on to get in the 40-minute limit.
No, we didn't have any other, like, we definitely have like a lot of other ideas and stuff, but nothing that formulated into like a full track, because like as we were writing it, we were like keeping track of how long everything was, and like a lot of the songs just ended up being like longer side, like 6, 7, 8 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, like as we were kind of like writing, getting everything together, we're like, oh, like this is actually going to be enough, and now we just sort of have like all that other stuff sort of in our back pockets for the next one. So yeah, it's nice.
I assume, with kind of the quick turnaround you've had between records, I assume you're just always writing. Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because people say that, and like we have gotten our records out pretty quickly, but like I don't know, I don't feel like I'm always writing. I feel like I kind of go in waves of like really being at home and like playing my guitar a lot and having these ideas, and like really being focused on executing those ideas, or at least making them concrete enough to like stick and bring to the rest of the group. But like I definitely don't work on music every day by any means or anything like that. Like I have a lot of other stuff that I'm into. So
Okay.
yeah, I guess I don't know what like writing a lot is. It seems like I just have so many people in the music community that like truly are writing every single day, and like to me that blows my mind. But yeah, I mean, we definitely
I guess
like,
I meant
we
in
have a
terms
lot of
of
ideas.
yeah. I guess I meant in terms of writing all the time, as opposed to like having a definite, now we're writing an album, now we're not writing an album.
Yeah.
Right? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah. And like
have ideas in the works.
Like when we jam, because before we practice, like we're always jamming and stuff, and like sometimes like those cool moments like when we're jamming will happen, and it's like, shit, let's record that and remember it for later. And like, so it's like we're always kind of cultivating ideas, I'd say.
Okay.
With Silence Motion, we did kind of set like a timeline. So basically with this record, what happened was we were on the road, COVID happened, we had to cancel the last couple shows and just drive home because they were getting canceled, because that was like first lockdown quarantine when everyone was like, what the fuck is going on? And then we were home for like a month or a few weeks, and had been talking with each other, but not practicing, because everyone, especially in Portland, was like super quarantine, like lockdown vibes. And then Sarah, our synth player, actually ended up getting pregnant. And so we had gotten together once she told us like, oh, I'm like having this baby in December. This was like in March, April, somewhere in there. And so we were like, shit, okay. Well, we were like, obviously tour's not happening. And, you kind of have like a time limit. Like we've got this like until December kind of like baby clock going on. And so we all just committed. We were like, let's write a record. Let's write and record a record before your due date, And so we all like at that point we had transitioned into a 4-piece.
Yep.
And we were like, let's just do this. And so we started getting together 2 times a week, writing, jamming, doing stuff, got these songs together, booked the studio time, recorded it. And literally all of this happened, like, we were in our last day in the studio. I think Sarah went to the hospital like 3 days after that. So we literally
So
planned it like, whew, like
yeah,
perfect. So in that sense, we did have like, we're focused, we're writing, this is what's happening, we're not on tour, blah, blah,
right.
blah. And I think that that's kind of going to be what happens for the next one. We have like a lot of stuff coming up, like this potential tour that we're all kind of like on the fence about if it's actually going to happen. And if it doesn't, then we're going to just do the same thing and try and like use November and December to like really lock ourselves in the studio or into our practice space and just write another, like, hopefully full record or as much of a record as we can. And there's not as much pressure to like get it done
Right.
now,
Right.
but
Don't have
yeah,
that baby clock ticking.
yeah, we don't
Is
have the
that,
baby
yeah,
clock
no,
anymore,
right.
so yeah, so we're just gonna see what we
Just
can
the
do,
baby.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty funny the way that it all happened. And when we were in the studio, we kept on joking. We had this thing called Play 911, where it was like if Sarah needed to go to the hospital, like while we're in the studio, we're like, okay, we've got the people that are going to the hospital, we've got the people that are going to stay in the studio. Like everyone has their like
The
role.
plan.
So it's like if someone starts yelling Play 911, like it's happening. Like
They have the in like the baby class, when you go to baby class, when you're going to have a kid, they tell you have a plan, have your bag ready to go.
right.
So see, you
Yeah. So
guys,
it was just
you had
like
a,
it was
yeah,
like this whole team of people. We're all like, we're on it. We're ready. Like,
right, there you go.
yeah, it's pretty funny. But
Marvelous.
yeah, it was also cute because like she kept on the studio that we were in was really cool. And there's kind of like this little like glass walled house that's called the glass house, like this little room that has all the synths and all the keyboards in it.
Mhm.
And it's pretty big, but it's also like once all the keys are in there, it's like, you're kind of small. And so she kept on kind of bumping into like keys and like pressing notes and stuff. And, like, it was just like the most badass thing ever. We were loving it. Yeah, she
That's
killed it.
um so that November tour now, that was with
Mhm.
Monolord in Europe, right? That's a
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like everything is
yeah, yeah.
um yeah, I mean, there's been like, new restrictions and new lifted restrictions and then reinstated restrictions and blah 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 blah. I feel like every single week. Um so right now it's happening. We've been talking about it. They've been talking about it, but I think that we'll know kind of in the next few weeks what's going to be reasonable. The thing that we don't want to have happen is if we go and we get there and then once we're there, different countries have put restrictions on like the border crossing. And so if we're in a place where we have to end up driving around an entire country 20 hours or something to get to another show, like we're just not going to make it. You know what I mean? So
Right.
we just kind of have to see like what's open and what our routing is and if it's going to work or not. And if it doesn't, it'll get rescheduled. We'll go back as soon as we can. And obviously it's going to be a huge bummer, but it's like, this is not the first thing that's been canceled for us in the last 2 years. So at this
No.
point, it's kind of like, okay, cool.
Right. And
You know?
obviously you're not the only one changing plans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's every band. It's every
Yeah.
single band. So
It's everybody.
yeah.
It's not, yeah, it's
It's like
everybody's
literally
everything.
it's everyone. It's
Yeah,
every single thing. So
everybody's
um
everything. Yep.
it's everybody's everything. So I mean, that's why we kind of are like, okay, if this tour doesn't happen, then like, fuck, we're just going to try and like bust out another album as fast as we can. Cause like, if we can get kind of two out within the same year-ish, I mean, obviously it won't come out this year, but
Right.
sometime into next, like that would be pretty cool. So we're just going to be as productive as possible, and just do what we can with the time that we have.
Where does
So.
that, you've toured pretty heavily since the band got going and
Mhm.
managed to at the same time put out all these records. It's a significant work ethic.
Yeah.
How much since you kind of started the band has Blackwater Holylight been a live band? How much of that was sort of I want to start this band and tour?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. So much of like what happened, I mean, Blackwater, when it started, I had no idea that any of this was going to be a thing that people were into and that like turned into like a job. Which I'm so grateful beyond words that that's what it turned into. Obviously, it's my dream. But when we first started, yeah, it took us like it actually took us quite a long time to record the first album, because we kind of did like half of it one summer thinking we would release an EP, and then like the kind of winter went by, and then that next spring we recorded the other half of the record, and then it kind of finally came out. So we started, our first show ever was like the fall of 2016. And then I think that for our first album came out in 2018. So that first like year was pretty slow moving, and
Okay.
all of us were in like a bunch of different projects, and like we wanted to do like little tours with friends and stuff. But so 2018 happened, that record came out, we did a couple small tours that year that were like our first tours as Blackwater. And then 2019 came along, we recorded Veils of Winter in March of 2019, so pretty early. And then like basically that whole year we were on the road. The majority of the time we were on the road, we had a lot of like big tours. So, and that just kind of happened, and like, you know, opportunities were coming up, and you know, Riding Easy was like, this, do you guys want to go on this? Do you guys want to go on this? And we'd have some friends like, hey, come with us for this. And like, we were like, I'm a yes man. So I'm like, yeah, duh, let's do that. Let's fucking go. So yeah, it ended up being a lot of touring, and we were really starting, like, you know, that's what I wanted. I mean, that's what I want. If you know, if COVID, none of this would have happened, like I'm sure we would have been on the road just the same.
Yeah.
So I really feel at home on the road, and I really love being on tour. And yeah, I think as soon as we're able to kind of pick back up the way we were, that's what we're gonna do. I mean, like that's what we fell into, that's what we wanted, and so we want to get it if we can ever again. We'll see.
Right.
We'll see. Hard to say.
And how does you know, sort of becoming okay then over the last few years, right? And I guess you're coming up on 5 years since that first show, so hey, congratulations.
Yeah, it's crazy.
How does that development of the band as kind of a touring act, a full-time job at band in your mind, how does that tie into sort of the studio development of the band and the development of the songs, the songwriting?
Yeah, I think I don't know. I mean, like I said, like I feel like the thing about this project is that you know, like I come up with, you know, for Silence Motion, a big chunk of that record were ideas that started with me and like a guitar part and a vocal part. But definitely more on Silence Motion than like our previous stuff was a lot more like of the other members' ideas. And so it's really kind of like we've always been collaborative, but as we move forward, it's just turning into even more of that, where, you know, like Elise and Sarah will get together and they have like some cool jam, or like, you know, Michaela has a bunch of riffs, and I have an idea now, you know, Erica's coming up with stuff. So we all kind of like collectively have ideas that we've come up together, but then we also have our own individual ideas. And so when we get around to like, let's get ready for the studio, let's write, it's like we just all have so many ideas. And kind of our secret weapon as a band is that like we're really good at just smashing all of that shit together and not really being like one sound all of the time.
Mhm.
And you know, that's like another reason I think why we've had like so many touring opportunities, because we can, yeah, we're a heavy band, but like we can play with like shoegaze bands, we can play with psych bands, we can really kind of fit in like sort of anywhere.
Mhm.
And so like, yeah, with studio stuff, it's like, yeah, we're busy, but then like we also have a lot of ideas, and like once we get together and we're just super open to other people's ideas and listening to each other and trying everyone's ideas, it's like shit comes together pretty quick. You know what I mean? Because it's not like one person being like, this is the song, this is how it goes, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, all right, what do you have? What do you have? That sounds crazy. Let's see how we can fit them together. That makes no sense. Let's do it, you know? So, and then it just becomes fun, you know, it just becomes fun and weird. And everyone's like, what the fuck is going on? I don't know, but it sounds cool. So let's roll with it.
Sure.
Like,
Is that
so,
the kind of the pandemic writing experience, right? Is
yeah,
like, what the fuck is going on? Okay. This,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah. How often were you able to get together last year?
We were rehearsing quite a bit. I mean, when we were writing Silence Motion, we were definitely getting
Oh, you said
together
twice
like,
a week, right?
yeah, two at least, sometimes 3 days a week. Like, um, yeah, definitely. And like when we practice for like, we try and be there for like 2 or 3 hours. So, um, you know, it was like it was a pretty good chunk of the, you know, of those times. But then like, you know, sometimes me and Elise will just get together and play, or like some, you know, me, Michaela, Elise, or Sarah and Elise, or whatever. So it's like we all try and like get together, but then there's other random times where someone's bored and it's like, hey, does anyone want to go jam? It's like, yeah, I'll see you down there. So but we really tried to commit and like make that like, okay, we're gonna get together on these days and these days at this time. Cause like in order, that's the only way that we could do that, you know, like we had to have a kind of a set schedule and be like, let's make this happen so that this record can happen.
Right.
So we're pretty good at like, I feel like we're a fairly disciplined band when it comes to like, you know, we're like working together in that way, or like once we kind of commit to something and like come up with a plan for how it's like all going to go down, like we're all really like, okay, and we just sort of do it, you know, which is nice. It's nice to work with a bunch of driven people that are like, that's the plan, this is the plan, we're doing the plan now.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be like, wait, remember when we talked about this, like, and let's do it. It's like, okay, we're going, let's go.
No, that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not to be understated, the
Yeah.
value of that.
Yeah.
Um, was there anything specific you wanted to sort of bring out of the songs coming off of Veils of Winter?
Like that kind of transitioned into Silence Motion, I
Yeah.
mean, not particularly. It was, you know, there's such different albums. They're just so different. I mean, it still sounds
Yes,
like
they
us.
are.
You know, you hear Silence Motion and it's like, okay, this still sounds like Blackwater. You know, it still sounds like us, but um it's definitely a different vibe. And like, you know, we made Silence Motion as a 4 piece and Veils of Winter was a 5 piece. And so, you know, we were missing a voice on Silence Motion, and that was kind of something that we, as a 4 piece, like during writing, we're like had to kind of get used to and figure out like, you know, do we need these parts, you know, like vocal harmonies, or do we need what kind of is important for us to keep. And then it kind of just turned into like, let's not even really worry about like what that was or trying to be what we were, and just be what we are. Let's just do what we're doing now, because that was then and this is now, and it's different, and
Mhm.
whatever we put out next is going to be different. And it's, you know, we're always going to be evolving and just doing whatever we feel while we're writing. So um it definitely was like kind of trippy for us. We're like, oh, okay, like this is weird and new for us too, and like hopefully people still like it. But you know, we were just being ourselves, and we're just working together, and we're just like really like giving each other that space to like put in our ideas. And then that's kind of, you know, that's what happened, that's what manifested out of it. So
Hmm.
um yeah, yeah, I don't think that any of us were thinking like too heavily about like any kind of crossover, because it was so different inherently already. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Is there the title track, or the title track and the title of the record uh kind of stood out to me. They're not quite opposites, right?
Hmm.
Silence and motion, right? There's obviously one is quiet and one is moving
Mhm.
around.
Mhm.
Um, but there is kind of that juxtaposition
Mhm.
of something not happening and something happening.
Mhm.
Um, where did the title come from?
So the title is actually that song Silence Motion
Yeah.
is a very personal song to me. It's something that I wrote in like the dead of winter uh last year when it was just cold and depressing and COVID was happening, and I just tried to write songs just like kind of to like heal from my own trauma and like heal from a lot of things that I've been carrying around with me for a long time. So it's actually about which I'm like super trying to be really open about it in interviews and stuff, but um it was about some sexual abuse that I went through in high school.
Mm,
And that yeah, and it totally, I mean, it fully is about the juxtaposition of feeling like um everything is happening and nothing is happening kind of at the same time.
mhm.
And so that's where like the title of the song came from, and like that's they're part of the lyrics too. And um I just really liked the way that they sounded together, and then when we were trying to come up with the name of the record, I was like, well, why don't we just call it Silence Motion, because it's like it's so beautiful, and it also is really telling, I think, of our band, because we do kind of dip in and out of these really like soft and subtle, like acoustic, very gentle feeling moments that turns into like these big kind of cacophonous moments. And so it felt like it was very telling of my experience. It's really telling of the song, and it's really telling of our sound.
Hmm,
And so it just felt, right.
hmm. Sort of summed everything up. Was the
Yeah.
um, was the process of writing about that abuse, was it cathartic at all? Did it help you?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's it's so fun. It's like so many of so much time that I've spent, because most of the writing I do on guitar, um, at least in the beginning, is all on my acoustic,
Mhm,
actually. And
mm,
I'm usually home alone, and I'm just kind of dinking around, and that song kind of just started coming out of me, and like those lyrics kind of started coming out of me, and it wasn't even like I wasn't like I didn't sit down and be like, okay, I'm gonna write like a song about this experience because I want to like put a cap on it and blah blah blah. Like that's just it just sort of started coming out of me. So I think I just really needed to do that without really knowing it. And then yeah, it did. It was an extremely cathartic thing. And I was crying a lot when I was writing it. And then the song was kind of done, and I showed it to the rest of the group, and they were like, oh my god, that's like really heavy. And it's just like, yeah, but then by the time it was done, by the time we recorded it, I'm like, fuck yeah, like that's such a healing thing for me, like to be able to have that experience and turn it into like this really beautiful piece of art, and just know that like that's mine, and it exists in the world now, and I'm sharing that experience with other people, and hopefully they can listen to it and they can heal from something in their life, and just really share that kind of pain and healing and beauty with people in whatever way they just turn it into for their own personal selves. And like that makes me feel really good, and that like is definitely very healing for sure.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's I guess that would be the ideal. That's fantastic. I'm
Yeah.
glad to hear.
Yeah. Thank you.
Um, uh, ALN from Mismore
Yeah.
produced,
We produced.
produced, did
Yeah.
not engineer.
No. So we had our friend Dylan White, who he actually engineered Veils of Winter as well.
Yeah.
Um and I've known Dylan for 13 years. We've been friends, and I used to play music with him, and so um we like we knew that he's our guy, and like I love working with him as an engineer. um Liam, we'd never worked with a producer before.
Hmm.
It's never even anything that I've like thought about doing. um but I hit him up when we were recording silence, or when we were writing Silence Motion, and was like, I don't know if you do this, but or if you'd be interested in doing this, but you know I love his music, I love him, and you know, I was like, I kind of want to see what it would be like to work with someone on kind of the production end of this. And he was like, fuck yeah, I'm down. And I think that's the first record outside of his own um and his side projects, the first thing that he's produced that he's not actually written. Uh so it was a cool learning experience for him and us, and like it was just cool to like have someone there that was like outside of the group and outside of Dylan, who we've worked with a lot,
Right.
to have those opinions and just like ask some tonal questions and some different recording techniques. And it was really fucking cool, and I value his knowledge so much. We learned so much from him. It was crazy coming out of the studio. I was like so glad we did that, because I was like, I just gained like, you know, I just like one upped and when it came
Like
to my
what?
like my recording skills and stuff. Just like a lot of recording techniques that he kind of uses with guitars, and without like giving away of too much of a shit. Um
No, it's
that
fine.
yeah, that was really nice. And just kind of like techniques that he uses, like in capturing tones and all of this stuff. And it was just like, it was so fucking fun. I
Mhm.
loved it. I was like, I get why producers are important now. Like, I think it's perfectly fine for bands to not do that. But at this point in the band, I'm like, the more the fucking merrier. Like, whoever wants to come in and like share their opinion, I'm like, let's just get it all, because it's like everyone I know is such a wealth of knowledge, and I'm like, let's just fucking get as much info and as much as we can into this, because it's gonna make a better product. It was funny though, working with him and Dylan. They really pushed me outside of my comfort level on like, especially a lot of the vocal stuff that happened on the record. And like, historically, I really like my vocals to be like very wet and reverby and like pretty hidden, and kind of like people are like, what is she saying? Like, I like that because it's just sort of like an insecure place for me musically. And they pushed me outside of that box a lot on this record.
Mhm.
Um, so that was good. You know, it was something to have someone where they're like, oh, like this is hard for you. Like, I'm gonna kind of nudge
Yeah.
you off the ledge a little bit and like make you feel more comfortable with what you're doing. So it was hard, it was challenging, but it was also like, I'm very, very grateful for it. And it was fun as fuck. So we were laughing so much. It was funny, like that, you know, that album, so many of those songs are like really sad and about sad things, and were like very difficult emotionally to write. But then when it came time to record them, we're in there just like laughing, and it's like, this is such a sad song. And in between takes, we're like giggling and like, you know. So it was like, it was nice. It was like good bookends on it.
Right. Right. Um, it's awesome. Uh,
Hmm.
how does that jibe with kind of the deadline, right? Of you know, of you're you know, you're able to, with a producer, sort of explore these different ideas and sort of break out of maybe some of, at least some of that insecure place of vocals.
Hmm.
And you know, and obviously you're going nowhere fast in terms of heading out on tour, so it's not like you have the deadline for that,
Hmm.
but there's this baby clock.
Hmm.
um so tell me about, you know, feeling that pressure but at the same time working in this new way.
It was good. I mean, it was, I think, um, we had 10 days in the studio, which is what we did for Veils of Winter.
Mhm.
Uh, so
Does that include mixing?
yeah, or no, no, no,
Oh,
no,
all right.
not, yeah. Um, yeah, we track pretty slow. It's funny because I always thought we are like pretty normal, but talking to a lot of other bands, they're like, "You're in the studio for how long?" I'm like, I don't know. This is what we do. But
I don't know, 5 weeks, whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like it took us a year. Um, but yeah, no, it was like a week and a half, and it was helpful. I think he was definitely helpful to like kind of keep us focused on stuff. And um, you know, I think we give each other like that time too, because like a lot of kind of writing ends up happening, excuse me, at least for like synth, like a lot of synth stuff ends up getting written in there. And you know, we change things and kind of shuffle some things around once we're actually tracking. So it was good to have him there for sure, because he was like, okay, like this sounds good, we don't need to fuck with it, let's go to the next thing, you know. And he was just really like, it's good, it's bad, do that again, nope, we're keeping it, okay. So, to have someone that's like, yes, no, yes, it was definitely helpful to, because otherwise, like, it's like, fuck, if I could, I would still be working on that shit. Like, I would still be working on it if it weren't for someone being like, it's good, you're done, so
Move on. Yes.
yeah, move on.
Do you have any sense of, because trying these different musical things on this record, right? Here's all of a sudden, here's Blackwater Holylight doing kind of extreme metal, right? And here's Blackwater Holylight bringing in Brian Funk from Now on vocals. Do you have any sense of what you want to do next?
Yeah, we definitely going to keep going in that more extreme direction. For sure. I mean, Erica is such like a woman from the death metal, extreme metal world, and like I mentioned earlier, a lot of this is just becoming more and more collaborative. So I'm super excited to see what happens with her more extreme style mixed with my kind of like shoegazy doom gaze kind of vibe that I have. And then, like Sarah and Michaela did a handful of like writing parts for the last one, and Michaela's definitely really excited to get like heavier. So yeah, I think we're just going to keep on trying to like push ourselves and see like what other heavy elements, like what other, like if we can kind of start getting into some more death metal riffs, if we can kind of keep like a lot of these like black metal-y feeling moments that we had on Silence Motion going. And the band is definitely evolving, and the band is evolving into kind of a heavier realm. And I think that like the like the lighter, softer, more like vocal harmony stuff, like that's kind of, that was the base of the band, and that is so important to our sound, but it's also something that I'm not really attached to in any way, and I really want to kind of like see how heavy and like crazy we can get. So it's cool because it's like that's the foundation of the band. It's fucking important that it's there, but it's, I'm also really stoked to kind of just keep going forward and like, yeah, like let's make it heavy. Like I want to make a fucking heavy record. Next one, I want it to be like insane. So it's still going to be us, and it's still going to be me because I sing the way I sing, and I
right,
like I said before,
I don't know,
like
you start doing I mean, right?
I can't do that. Erica can do that. So she'll be doing that on the next record for sure. But so it's still going to be me. I still have to just unfortunately just be me always. Like I can't change that part.
No negative self-talk in this interview, please.
Yeah, okay.
Come on now.
No,
none of that.
No.
None of that.
I mean, like we'll still be us, but we're definitely gonna. I want to like push and experiment and be like, okay, what happens if we just try and like really fuck this shit up? So it'll be fun. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I do hope the European tour happens. If it doesn't happen, I would look forward to hearing that record.
Yeah. If it doesn't happen, it's just gonna mean that like other music comes out from us sooner. So it's not a total loss.
Right.
Or not even really a loss at all.
I haven't seen, I know you have the All Them Witches dates early next year. I haven't seen anything around like a release show, and last I looked, Oregon was a mess. I don't know if it still is. Do you have anything like in the works for that, or can you?
Yeah, so we were going to have an album release show here in Portland in October. And that just kind of actually crumbled like last week because the band that we were going to play with had to drop off because of like COVID and family reasons. And there was like some stuff with the venue that we needed to fill that wasn't like really happening fast enough, and blah blah blah. And we're also actually moving to Los Angeles next week. So so between like us moving and like not really lining up with the venue and the band, we're like, let's just bagged the album release show, which is weird because I've never not had an album release show, but the plan was to just sort of celebrate the record locally during that All Them Witches tour, because we're going to be playing here, and we're playing at the venue that we wanted to have the release show at, and so it'll be out, but we'll just kind of have like a more local celebration. And I think in LA we're just going to do like a listening party. We don't have that totally planned yet, but that's the hope, is to just kind of have it on, and wherever we decide doing it, people can come down and say hi and like grab the record and just sort of like hang out and like have a release thing without actually playing. And then come January, hopefully
Right.
shows are a little bit more functional. And yeah, it's just so hard still, like Delta, and I just feel like every week it's like stuff is changing, and it just, Psycho was so overwhelming for us, and it's like, let's not push stuff, let's just kind of be patient still and let the world do what it's doing, and we'll just celebrate when we can. We'll do the best that we can with what we've got. So
right. What's behind the LA move?
Mostly the sunshine. I love Portland, and we all love this city. I've lived here for 13 years, and Elise and Michaela grew up here, and we've all been here for a long time. And so it's just time for a change. Like, I want to live in a place where it doesn't rain for 9 months out of the year, and because it's surprisingly extremely depressing, as you can yes,
Really?
very, very hard to exist in just a dark, wet hole most of the time. Yeah, weird.
Although you say it and it makes sense. So yeah, okay.
But yeah, I don't know where in the world you are right now.
I live in New Jersey. It's
cool.
It's the Garden State. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I love Jersey. I love the East Coast.
Yes, I it has a bad reputation, but I live in a nice part of New Jersey. It's very suburban. I live in a very suburban
you gotta
existence.
get it where you can.
Yeah, very extremely suburban.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I mean, we're not necessarily moving to LA for like to pursue music stuff. I think that just like the weather there, and being around new people, and like having space, and I think that we're gonna just sort of inevitably end up being able to be a little more productive with the band down there, because we're not going to be like in our beds sleeping when it gets dark at 4 p.m. every day, and like so, and it's just the new beginnings. It's just like new chapter. The band has changed so much in the last 2 years, and our sound is changing and everything. So it just kind of feels like the next generation of what we're doing, and being in a new place is going to be really cool for that. So it's like, these first 3 albums were kind of like our baby and like childhood albums, and like now we're moving maybe into like the teen albums, and so it's just the next phase.
Right. Got it.
Yeah.
So you're not about to sign to Warner Brothers or Universal and
not the plan is now. No,
LA band. Okay.
Yeah. No.
Cool. Okay.
I mean, and I still think that like even once we're in LA, we're still gonna be a Portland band, So
Portland expats.
You can take the girls out of Portland, but you can't take Portland out of the girls. So
fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
Sunny, I'm gonna let you go on that happy note. Let me hang on just a second. I'm gonna stop the recording.
Okay.
So hang out. But before I do, congratulations on the album.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, because really it's you can hear, I know you talked about kind of the doing different things, and you can hear the evolution 1, 2, 3 in the records, and it's
thank you.
It's a great moment you capture this time around. So hang out just 1 second.
Okay, cool.